Hi, my name's Phil. I like talking about politics, and in this video I'd like to discuss the latest on the Tory leadership contest and the various factions and players that seem intent on completely destroying the credibility of their party in order to claim their prize. In fact, there seem to be some Tories who are thinking it would have been less damaging to have just let Boris Johnson remain. But first, if you'd like to be notified of daily news and politics, please subscribe to the channel and click the bell notification icon. So we've had a couple of TV debates, and it's going to be the last one. There's another round of voting going on today. I don't know when the result comes out. It's too late for me to change this video. If anything, the Tories are doing themselves enormous damage during the contest. I've seen people question why major television studios are even hosting a debate between challengers for what, after all, is a contest that's going to be decided by a relatively small part of the population, Conservative Party members. It's an internal party affair, really. But I support these debates for two very good reasons. First, although, yes, literally this is a contest to decide the Conservative Party leader, the winner will become Prime Minister. The public have a right to know where they stand on various issues, or at least where they claim to stand. Boris Johnson avoided a lot of public scrutiny by dodging journalists who might ask him awkward questions. His successor may do the same. Frankly, these TV debates may be the only time that the public get to see them face serious questions. I mean, there'd be Parliament, but a lot of people don't watch that. Second, the only candidate who's really coming away from these debates with much credit is Tom Tugendhat, and he never had any serious chance of winning. In fact, although no results have been announced at the time of recording this, like I say, I don't think it's a Nostradamus level prediction to suggest Tugendhat is out today. In fact, because of the heat, I'm having to record this so far ahead, he may even have voluntarily dropped out. You know, that's the only element of speculation, whether he voluntarily drops out before the vote or not. He's the candidate, actually, that would have presented the stiffest test for Labour, and he's going to be dropped as a potential candidate because he's one of the also-rans. You know, despite Penny Mordaunt having been a bookie's favourite from the start, the chances are that the final ballot to go to the party members will be Rishi Sunak and Liz Truss. And this will be glorious for the opposition parties. I gather there's been a big shift in betting behaviour over the last day, with people seeing that Truss is actually in prime position. And I think what people failed to understand is when they saw the results coming out, is that a lot of the candidates dropping out had supporters who are likely to switch that support to Truss more so than Mordaunt. So although Truss has not been in pole position, she will get there. Again, I don't know the results, but I'm guessing a load of Braverman's votes, she went out last week, will have gone to Truss. Tugendhat's votes, you know, when we look at the results tomorrow, there may well be split between Mordaunt and Sunak. But when Badenoch goes out, she's going to have a lot of votes that could just be loaded onto Liz Truss. I think Truss might have to promise to make her Chancellor to get her public backing, but that's how I see it going. So it really comes down to who Sunak wants to face, Mordaunt or Truss. Whichever he prefers, he could get his spare support to vote for in order to get them on the final ballot. And I have thought that he'd probably prefer to take Truss on. So there we go. But these debates, they've been very bad news for the Tories. Labour are delighted. I gather they were very happy with the TV debate last night. One source was quoted as saying they couldn't pay for something like that. And there are two major reasons why Labour would love to see a head-to-head between Sunak and Truss. The first is obvious. They're both badly tainted by association with Boris Johnson, and they're both very bad in front of the camera. I mean, you've seen them in the debates. Truss has been the most disastrous of them all, but they've both been poor, I thought. You know, during the debate, all candidates tried to distance themselves from Boris Johnson, but two of his most senior cabinet colleagues can't really get away. But second, Sunak and Truss have been the dirtiest campaigners. I mean, I've talked before about the bitter insults and briefings being thrown around in this contest, but as far as I can say, it's all come from Sunak and Truss's camp. And I've no real interest in getting into who's worse or who started it. But in actual fact, it has to be said, Truss's team have been running the dirty tactics throughout. I was amazed when Priti Patel, fairly early on, who's in Truss's camp, admitted leaking damaging information about Rishi Sunak. Like, Team Truss have been out to destroy the credibility of all her rivals, but in the process is causing a lot of damage to the Tory brand. As far as I know, Tugendhat Badenoch and Mordaunt have all conducted themselves with some measure of decorum. I don't know that their allies haven't been muckraking, but I can't think of any mudslinging that they've been doing, other than this morning when Mordaunt got a little bit peeved about the TV debates being cancelled, which I'll come to, and she blamed Truss and Sunak for it, and then retracted the statement. But Sunak and Truss, along with their campaign teams, have been just trashing their rivals. If Sunak and Truss end up on that final ballot, you know what we're going to see? We are going to see a full summer of the dirtiest campaign scene for some time. As a Labour supporter, I'm often looking at these dirty tricks being employed, but this time they're using it on themselves. Whoever wins will have had their credibility completely torn down by their own side. Opposition leaders will be able to level criticisms of the new Prime Minister at them and quote and make from their own colleagues, quotes from their own colleagues about how unsuitable they are for office. There is not a contender left in the contest for which Labour, Lib Dems, SNP, whomever, could not find a load of quotes from their own colleagues tearing them down. You can imagine the campaign slogans for the next election. If this is what their friends think of them, imagine what they're really like. The stuff just writes itself. I've said before, the 1922 committee must have been mad to set a timetable for the contest as long as this. Didn't they see it coming? The contest could have been done and dusted by mid-August. No problem. But they chose to have it run into the first week of September. I was wondering if some of the new 1922 committee members are actually red wall Tory MPs planning on defecting to Labour and this is their gift to them. You know, if anyone thought this summer might be politically boring because we've got a lame duck Prime Minister, the Tories have guaranteed quite a lot of entertainment, really. And it's clear the Tories are aware of the dangers because this morning Sunak and Truss pulled out of the third TV debate, which was planned on Sky. And because it sort of happened at the same time, they must have been pressured to do it. Because the first two debates have been quite damaging to the parties. The second, yesterday, was quite brutal in parts. Various challengers shooting down their rivals in full public view. Needless to say, the debate has now been cancelled, because obviously if Sunak and Truss pull out, there's not much point in the rest. You know, the Tories have obviously decided that it's best to look scared of further public scrutiny than to give the opposition even more ammunition. The excuse given was to focus on the party hustings, which is a deeply poor excuse, because they're basically saying they think it's more important to address small sections of their party than the public. That's a really bad look. But yeah, I can imagine how much more damage they thought they'd do to themselves in a third debate. So it's the least damaging outcome to basically say to the public, you're not important enough. Then you have to wonder about how the winner will form a government. Like when it comes to their leadership rivals, they've got two choices. The first is to give them cabinet positions in order to keep the various factions on side. That's quite normal. Problem with this is that opposition will constantly poke at them for the Prime Minister having senior members of the government that don't even believe in their policies. Because that'll be the case. You know, they've all torn down each other's policies. So no matter who you put as Prime Minister, if they promote one of those rivals into government, you know, opposition MPs will just say, well, this one doesn't believe in your policies. Are they really going to carry it out with any competence? And they'll have proof of it. It's their own words during the contest. They'll paint a picture of a dysfunctional government. And then the failing economy and the failing social structure will be ample evidence to pile on top. So your second option is to just surround yourself with your allies and banish your rivals to the backbenchers. But then they'll be able to cause trouble. They'll attempt to lead rebellions, making it hard for the new Prime Minister to establish themselves to get votes passed in Parliament. Unless, of course, they decide for the good of the party that they don't cause trouble. But I'm not seeing signs of that right now. You know, this is absolutely glorious for those who want to see the Tories gone. You know, there will be danger, because if they don't look like winning the next election, they will play even dirtier to try and make that election less fair. But I am hopeful there's only so much more they can do. They have already passed voter suppression laws, but there is a chance that'll hit as many of their voters as Labour's, maybe more so. But I will be very interested to see the polling over the next few months. Like, I wondered if the Tories would get a bounce back after Johnson announced he was stepping down. Now, they didn't. And the lead now between Labour and Conservatives is decent. But I would expect a bounce back still when he does eventually go. When he's replaced, I would expect some of the public to go, okay, fair, he's gone now. But what if they don't? Or what if they do, but it's really small? What if Labour have a strong conference at the end of summer and the Tories have a poor one? And judging by the shown in these TV debates, I wouldn't bet money on the eventual winner pulling a rabbit out of the hat during their speech. The ideal solution is that Labour extend their poll lead. That'll mean the various factions within the Conservative Party will be eating each other's faces again. And I don't just mean bitter recriminations between the leadership campaigns. No, the winner will blame the others for their dirty tactics. And that's why they're, in so much trouble now, why the public don't warm to them, because of all your dirty campaigning. The losers will blame the winner for being crap. Boris Johnson allies will blame them all for doing even worse than their Messiah was doing. Oh, it'd be spectacular. But there's a lot of ifs in there. There are a lot of ifs in there. We'll have to wait and see. Let's not get ahead of ourselves. But for now, the Tories have had to come to terms with the fact it's actually really bad to be seen talking in public. That's what those two TV debates have shown them, and that's why they've pulled the third. Yeah, do you know what? This is the next Prime Minister. Come what may, the next Prime Minister is one of those 5 people, and realistically, it's one of 3. And they've had to face up to the fact, do you know what? No matter who of you wins it, you're all useless. Don't be seen talking in public. They've got to have a new Prime Minister who needs to, as a political strategy, avoid talking in public. They probably now wish they'd never agreed to these debates in the first place. This is not a great sign for them once the contest is over. It means the eventual winner will be accused of dodging public scrutiny, will have no way of claiming that they're leading their party when various factions have been trashing everyone. But those are my thoughts. Let me know yours in the comments below. Hope you found the video interesting. If you did, please click the like button. If you'd like to support the channel further, the join button for memberships. And until next time, I'll see you later. I'm off to go and find a fridge to hide in.